You're driving. Your parent looks ahead and says, "You need to get over." "I know," sharper than you meant. A coworker could say almost the same thing and get, "Oh, right." From your parent, the answer is, "I know." You hear your own tone. They go quiet. "I was only telling you." A few seconds ago, this was about a lane. Now the whole car feels different. Why can something so small land so differently when it comes from your parent? You didn't mean to say it like that. Part of you wants to soften it. You almost say, "Sorry, I just," but then that feels too big for what happened. So you say nothing. They say nothing. The turn comes and goes. A minute later, you are still replaying two words that took less than a second to say. Not because the comment was important, because you heard something in your own voice you did not mean to put there. And it does not only happen in the car, you are making dinner. That pan looks really hot. I know. You are leaving the house. Take a jacket, it's supposed to get cold. I'm fine. You are carrying something across the room. Careful with that. I've got it. None of those replies is dramatic. Most of the time, the moment passes. But you know the tone. Sometimes it comes out before you have even decided whether you are annoyed. Sometimes your parent has not even finished the sentence. Did you remember to? Yes. They stop. I was going to ask if you remembered whether I needed anything from the store. Oh, that is where the pattern gets harder to explain, because you do not react like this every time somebody corrects you. Earlier that day, someone at work could point out something you missed and you would just fix it. No long explanation, no need to prove you had already thought of it. Someone could suggest a better way to handle something, and you could decide whether it was useful and move on. Then your parent says, "Are you sure that's the best way?" And suddenly you hear yourself saying, "I already thought about that." Or, "I know what I'm doing." It is not even everything your parent says. You can talk about a movie, a neighbor, the weather, somebody's vacation. Nothing happens. Then they say, "Why don't you just—" And there it is again, the quick answer. Sometimes your parent moves on immediately. You are the one who does not. A minute later, you replay your own tone. You know you could have answered differently. The comment was tiny. But going back to explain yourself now feels more awkward than letting the silence sit there. Then there are the moments that do turn into an argument. Back in the car, your parent says, "I only meant you needed this lane. I already saw it." Then why are you getting upset? "I'm not upset. I'm telling you I saw it." "Okay, I was just trying to help." Now you are explaining that you do not need help with every little thing. They're explaining that they never said you did. You explain harder. They explain harder. A few seconds ago, you were talking about a lane. Now neither of you is talking about the lane. You can feel the old sentence trying to come out. "Because you always—" And that is where it becomes tempting to choose a simple answer. Maybe your parent is too controlling. Sometimes they are. Some parents keep correcting long after their children are grown. They comment on the route you take, the food you buy, how you spend your money, how you raise your children. Advice arrives when nobody asked for it, and sometimes the problem is not subtle at all. You tell them you have accepted a new job. Before you can finish explaining why, they say, "Are you sure that's smart?" You tell them you have already signed. They keep going. "What about the commute?" You answer. "What about the money?" You answer. "What if you regret it?" You finally say, "I've made the decision," and they say, "I'm just asking." But you are not asking them to evaluate it. That is different. If a pattern like that keeps happening, pretending it is harmless does not make it harmless. You may genuinely want less commentary. You may need a boundary. But the other simple answer does not work either. Maybe you are just too sensitive. That does not explain why the same comment from somebody else can barely register. And it does not explain moments like this. You pull into a restaurant parking lot. "Did you pay for parking?" "Yes," you say, already irritated. Your parent points through the window. "I was asking because that sign says the meter changed." For a second, you realize you are answering a criticism they had not made. Then another day, the opposite happens. You start doing something and they really do step in. They correct you. You ask them to stop. They keep going. Those two moments can feel almost identical when they begin. That is what makes them difficult to sort out while you are inside them. Your parent says, "Take this lane," but you may not hear only the lane. You may also hear the other times you felt you had to explain that you already knew what you were doing. You may hear, "You still need me to tell you how to handle basic things." But that second sentence was not actually spoken. Maybe your parent has corrected you too much for years. Maybe this particular comment was completely ordinary. Sometimes you aren't reacting only to what your parent just said. You may also be reacting to what that kind of comment has come to mean between the two of you. That is why the response can arrive before the rest of the sentence. And once that starts happening, your parent can begin anticipating you too. They say, "Don't get mad," but you have not gotten mad yet. They have not even said the thing. But you are already bracing for criticism, and they are already bracing for your reaction. The argument has barely started, and both of you already know the parts you expect the other person to play. Then the pattern starts changing what you share. You make a decision and think about telling them. Maybe you booked a trip. Maybe you changed something at work. Maybe you handled a problem on your own. There is nothing secret about it. But before you call, you can already hear the questions. Why that week? Did you compare prices? Are you sure? So you decide you will tell them later, after it is booked, after it is done, after there is nothing left to discuss. Not because you want distance. Because you do not want every update to become a defense of a decision you have already made. Nothing dramatic happens. You simply start editing yourself before the conversation begins. You share the safe parts. You leave out the parts that might invite correction. And your parent may not even know why they are hearing less. A week later, you are having dinner with them when somebody else mentions the trip. Your parent looks at you. "You booked a trip?" "Yeah." "When?" "A few days ago." They look surprised. "Why didn't you tell me?" You reach for the easy answer. "I don't know, it just came up." But that is not really true. You had the confirmation open on your phone for 3 days. More than once you thought about sending it. Then you imagined the conversation. How much was it? Why that place? Who are you going with? Is that really a good time? So you waited. At dinner, your parent does not know any of that. They only know that someone else mentioned something about your life before you did. Later, while you are helping clear the table, they say, "You used to tell me these things." You do not have a clean answer. You are not trying to punish them. You are not trying to shut them out. You just got tired of every piece of news feeling like the beginning of a case you had to make. So you say, "I know." This time the words come out differently, not sharp. Just tired, and that is another way the pattern can grow. Not through one huge fight. Through the small things you stop bringing into the room, then one day you try something different. You have booked a short trip. You almost wait until the week before to mention it. Instead, you tell them now. "I booked a few days away next month." Your parent looks at you. "Are you sure you want to spend that much right now?" You feel the answer start. "I already—" You stop. For half a second, you notice what happened. They asked about the money. Your mind supplied the rest. You think I make bad decisions. You think I can't manage my own life? Maybe that is what they mean. Maybe it is not. But there is something else you already know. You do not want to reopen a decision you have already made. So you do not explain the price. You do not list the reasons. You do not prove that you compared hotels. You just say, "I've already decided. I'm just letting you know." Your parent pauses. "Okay." Maybe they look disappointed. Maybe they ask another question later. Maybe the boundary does not work perfectly the first time, but notice what did not happen. You did not spend 5 minutes proving that you were responsible enough to take the trip. The comment was one thing, the boundary was another, and the answer came from that difference. A few days later, you are driving again. Same passenger seat. Same familiar voice beside you. Your parent notices something ahead. You need to... You feel the answer arrive. "I know." It is right there. But this time there is a small pause. Barely a second. You look ahead. "I saw it." Okay. And that is it. No explanation about why you already knew. No argument about whether they were criticizing you. The moment ends. The car keeps moving. They may still comment too much. You may still get irritated. You may still need to say, "I've got it, let me drive unless I ask." But every small comment does not have to become the whole argument again. Sometimes you need a boundary. Sometimes you just need to answer the sentence in front of you. And sometimes the moment is small enough to let it end. The car keeps moving.